going on? Welcome back to the channel. I feel like I've got toothpaste right here. I can taste the toothpaste. I don't know if you can see it. But in this video, I'm going to talk about, let's say you've got 100 pounds to lose, or 50 pounds to lose, or 150 pounds to lose, where you should start with your health and fitness. Like, what can you do starting today to make this process easier, more enjoyable, sustainable, and effective long term? The title of the video is 100 pounds, but it could be any large amount of weight. And I want this video to be helpful, not just right when I publish it, but I want people for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 plus years, however long YouTube is available. I want this video to help people who need this. So in this video, we're going to discuss the most practical things you can do to help you lose a large amount of weight in a sustainable, effective, healthy way. All right, let's get into it. At the office, and before we get into the main part of this video, where if you've got 50, 100 plus pounds to lose, where to start, I am going through my email list. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, which by the way, if you don't, you can do that right here, because I announced on Instagram the other day, I said, if you subscribe to my email list, then I'm going to pick 10 people who subscribe to my email list to win a free month in the Inner Circle. And right now, I just picked the 10 winners because I can go in the back end of my email list and see all the subscribers and sort them by date. So I'm picking 10 people, and I'm sending them individual emails. So I've got here Ivana, Brooke, Jennifer, Jenny, Rachel, Connie, Amber, Frankie, Beth, and Carrie. I'm sending them all an email, personal email from me right now to let them know they won a free month in the Inner Circle. And if you would like to be entered to win a free month in the Inner Circle for being on my email list, you can go to the link in the description of this video, sign up for my email list, and about once a month, I'm going to be picking 10 new people to win a free month in the Inner Circle, and you will get a direct email from me, which, by the way, make sure you use an email that actually you check, because I'll be sending you a direct email so you can know if you won, all right? So I'm going to send these emails out right now. They're going to set the office up and get into the video. All right, we're gonna dive right in. Where should you start if you have 100 pounds to lose? Again, it's not just 100 pounds. It could be 50, 100, 150, whatever it is. This is gonna be your starting point for what to do if you have a lot of weight to lose and you're not sure where to begin. Now, if you're new to my channel, first and foremost, welcome. Second, make sure you subscribe if you don't already. Give the video a thumbs up to make sure that you keep seeing these videos in your feed. It also helps the channel, just so you know. If you're new to the channel, you will soon find out that I do a lot of whiteboard videos, in which basically I outline all of my thoughts because I'm super ADD, and then I have it all out. I think it's easier for you to pay attention to, and I also will sometimes do these like ad-lib things where I plug in words because I want you to watch the whole video. A lot of people, they'll see the title and they'll start watching and they'll skip around. They're like, what? That video wasn't helpful. Well, you didn't watch the whole fucking video, all right? So everything is important. It's not just here for shits and giggles, and I will do ad-libs to help make sure you stay throughout the entire video and watch the whole thing. So with that being said, let's do the most important thing, right? The most important thing for you to know when you're starting this journey. It has nothing to do with training, nothing to do with nutrition, nothing to do with basically everything, no supplements, none of that stuff. The most important thing for you to know when you start this journey is that it is going to be harder than you want it to be. It is going to take longer than you want it to take, and you are going to make mistakes along the way. These things are normal. It's going to be harder than you want, it's going to take longer than you want, and you will make mistakes. But as long as you don't quit, as long as you don't just throw in the towel and give up, you will succeed. I promise you. The main reason that people fail in this journey is because they quit. They give up. Well, why do they do that? Usually because they think they failed. Right? And oftentimes people will start their fitness journey, right? And they're like, all right, I'm gonna work out every day. I'm never gonna eat a carb again. I'm never gonna have any bad foods, all of this shit, right? Which is completely unrealistic. It's unrealistic to think that you're gonna work out every day and never miss a day. It's completely unrealistic to think that you're never gonna enjoy some of your favorite foods. It's unrealistic and it sets you up for failure. So know ahead of time, there will be times where you miss your workouts. Know ahead of time that there will be times where you probably eat more than you should. That's okay. It is normal. It's part of living a healthy life, right? It's part of living a balanced life. As long as you don't quit, as long as you don't use one of these instances in which you miss a day or a week, a month of working out, as long as you don't use one of these instances in which you have like more food than you should, or you have an entire pizza, whatever it is, as long as you don't use that as a justification to quit, you will succeed. And you need to internalize this. Save this video, watch this clip for later, watch it for when you're having a bad day, you're feeling down on yourself. No, this is the most important thing. This is why it's first. This is the first part of this video. It's gonna take longer than you want. It's gonna take a long time. This is not a month-long journey, right? If it took you a week to walk into the woods, it's gonna take you a week to walk out of the woods. If it took you 10 years to walk into the woods, it's gonna take probably 10 fucking years to walk back out of the woods, right? It takes a long time. Get this idea, oh, I need to lose a certain amount of weight by this day. No, you fucking don't. Just start the journey now and make consistent progress. It's gonna take longer than you want. It's gonna be harder than you want. It's gonna be difficult. You're gonna have to make sacrifices. There will be times where you have to do things that you don't want to do. Welcome to life. Shit sucks sometimes, but you've gotta do it. It's gonna take longer, it's gonna be harder, and you will make mistakes. Everything in life causes you to make mistakes. If you want to get good at anything, if you want to achieve a high level of success, you're going to make mistakes. Just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you're a failure. You're only really a failure if you just give up altogether. Find me anybody who's achieved a high level of success in anything who has not failed. Doesn't exist. Good luck. Doesn't happen. It's gonna take longer than you want. It's gonna be harder than you want, and you will make mistakes. But as long as you don't quit, you will achieve your goals. Okay, next we are doing the first ad lib of the video. Start with guess. You can guess right now before I say it. You're gonna start with walking. Okay, starting with walking. This is the most important. Now, if you have a lot of weight to lose, like 100 pounds, 150 pounds, 200 pounds, walking might be really, really difficult, right? Which is okay. You don't need to start by walking 5 miles. Start by walking a little bit. Now, I'll start by saying this. I have an entirely separate video all about 10,000 steps. The science behind 10,000 steps, the history behind 10,000 steps, the importance of consistent walking, how many steps you actually need. It's actually not 10,000 steps. You don't need to get 10,000. So I'm gonna put the link to that video in the description of this video if you want to go watch that after you watch this whole thing. It's gonna be very, very helpful. There's a super important reason why this is the first actionable step. It's because if we look at the longest living and healthiest populations in the world across all countries, across all peoples, across all the continents, the one common denominator is not a certain diet, okay? It's not like we can look at people in China and people in Sweden and people in Greece and all over the world, very different diets, but live super long, very healthy lives. And there are many reasons for that. The one main common denominator among the people who live the longest, healthiest lives is walking on a consistent basis. And if people tell you that walking doesn't count as exercise, they're fucking idiots. They have no idea what they're talking about. The changes that you see on a physiological level just from 5 minutes of walking, 10 minutes of walking is unbelievable. It is so important for your health, not just physical health, but mental, emotional as well, but also the physical health benefits, the physiological health benefits that you get all the way down to a cellular level just from walking 5, 10, 15 minutes is unbelievable. So this is number one, and it's going to be so important. Now, I will say this. As a younger coach, I used to always start with nutrition first, because the reality is, and as we'll get further into it, you need to be in what's called a calorie deficit in order to lose body fat. Basically, that means you need to eat fewer calories than you burn. We'll get a little bit more into that later. And because you need to do that in order to lose fat, I used to think, let's start with nutrition. And I think ideally, in an ideal world, that makes sense. Practically, through coaching thousands and thousands of people, I've realized that's usually not the best place to start, and here's the reason why. Making nutrition changes tends to be more difficult than adding walking in, right? You can add walking in wherever. If you're in your apartment, literally just walk around your apartment. If you want to go on a walk outside, get great weather, get fresh air, awesome, cool. Walking or any movement, it doesn't have to just be walking, could be cycling, could be swimming, could be rowing, whatever it is, but movement in general is generally easier and more enjoyable than making big nutrition changes. And I want to start you off with success and something that is the lowest hanging fruit for you to get. Generally speaking, it's easier to start with movement than it is to remove certain things from your nutrition. Now, you'll see how I sort of strategize nutrition later on in the video, but I want you to be aware that starting with walking is the best physical activity you can begin with, not only because it's the lowest hanging fruit, but also because it's super beneficial from a physiological aspect, and also this is, I think, a very overlooked aspect. When we look at when people make nutrition changes, we'll use, I don't know, an apple and a donut, right? If you take 100 people and they all want to lose weight, you say, hey, here's an apple, here's a donut, which one would be better for weight loss? Every single one of those 100 people would say the apple. Every single one. There isn't a single person on earth who would say the donut would be better for weight loss, right? Now, if you go to those same 100 people and they all still want to lose weight, and you're like, hey, listen, I've got an apple, a donut, you can choose which one you want for free, they're not all gonna choose the apple. Right? It's not necessarily a knowledge issue. Like generally we know we should be eating more fruits and vegetables and lean proteins. We know we should be exercising. We know we should be doing these things, but a lot of us aren't doing it, which tells us it's not necessarily a knowledge issue. There's other things going on at play, right? I mean, for example, you go to you look at a cigarette box, there's literally a skull and crossbones on a cigarette box. It tells you this is going to kill you, and people still every day go and get cigarettes and smoke them, knowing that it's going to kill them. Not even the people who are already addicted, but today, right now, as you're watching this, someone is going to buy their first ever carton of cigarettes knowing that it could kill them. So the reason I say this is because it's not necessarily a knowledge issue, there's behavioral issues as well. And keeping the behavioral issue in mind and understanding how behavior drives everything and habits drive everything. When you start with walking, sometimes when you walk, you immediately feel better. You immediately feel better just from going on a 5-minute walk, a 10-minute walk. You feel happier, your endorphins increase, you feel accomplished. And when you feel accomplished, you're more likely to make better health decisions as a result of that. But if someone decided, you know what, I'll have the apple instead of the donut, oftentimes they don't feel better. Nothing like changes. They're like, oh, actually, I'd still like to have the donut as well. And they're not going to see the results of that for a while because results take time. It's going to take longer than you want. So I started having people start with walking because the results are immediate. You get immediate benefit of it, you feel better, and you often make better nutritional choices just because you've already accomplished something through walking. Now, I'm not saying don't make nutritional changes. I'm going to talk about that here. But I think the most important thing, if you only start with one, because again, this video is for someone who has 50, 100, 150, 200 plus pounds to lose. If you only have one to start with walking. And if all you do is add 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day of walking to your schedule, it's going to make an astronomical difference in your health and in your weight loss. Moving on to number 3, blank, blank, blank method. This stands for the 1-2-3 method. This is something that I've popularized a lot over the last few years across social media, and I'm going to explain it to you right now. Before I do though, I want to let you know I have an entirely separate video all about how to improve your relationship with food, how to build a healthier relationship with food. So just like the 10,000 step video, I'm going to put that in the description of this video. So if you want to watch an entire video about how to improve and have a healthier relationship with food, go watch that once you're done with this whole video, okay? So we already discussed walking and some brief physical activity for when you're getting started. 1-2-3 method. This is very simple. And keeping in mind what I already said about nutrition, it can be very difficult for people to take foods away. So the 1-2-3 method isn't taking any foods away. It's not saying you're not allowed to have any certain specific foods. It's adding some foods into your diet currently, okay? So here's how it works. And before I explain it, this is not all you are allowed to eat. This method simply describes what you must include every single day at a bare minimum. You can include other things as well, but this is the bare minimum of what must be included on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. What's the 1? The 1 is a big ass salad, okay? A big salad. And every time I talk about this, people are like, what kind of salad? What should I put in the salad? What kind of dressing? I don't give a fuck, okay? I want you to take a big bowl of vegetables, could have lettuce, could have spinach, could have arugula, I don't care. Put it in, red bell peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, olives, I don't care. Croutons, I don't give a fuck. Take a big bowl of vegetables, put some dressing on top. Usually I tend to prefer olive oil and lemon, something like that, and eat it. One a day, one big ass salad at least every single day. There's always someone who's like, well, what if I prefer like cooked vegetables? Cool. Take a big fucking pan, stir fry it, get a bunch of vegetables, put them in a bowl and eat it, or on a plate, or whatever. Eat it with your hands. I don't give a shit. One big ass salad, one big bowl of vegetables every single day. You want to put some protein in there? Cool. Put some salmon in there. Put some chicken in there. Put some tuna in there. I don't give a fuck. Put some tofu in there if you're vegan. Amazing. I don't care. Big bowl of vegetables every day. One big ass salad every day. I was actually just talking with my wife. We're going to make an entire like big ass salad recipe guide for my inner circle, which we'll talk about later on. But if you want some great recipe ideas and salad ideas, join the inner circle. My wife is an amazing cook. And she's really much better with the recipes and the cooking and all that. She'll give you more explicit guidelines on how to make your salads taste great for a great number of calories and super nutritious, okay? So 1 stands for one big ass salad. What does 2 stand for? 2 stands for 2 pieces of fruit, okay? Now, fruit is not cheesecake. Fruit is not pizza. Fruit is not a cookie. It feels crazy for me that I have to say this, but you know, there's some weird shit out there on the internet. Fruit means fruit. Could be an apple, could be a banana, could be a mango, could be watermelon, could be strawberries. I don't give a shit which fruit you choose, but have at least 2 pieces of fruit every day. Now, when I say 2 pieces of fruit, I don't mean 2 individual blueberries. That's not 2 pieces of fruit. I mean, technically it is 2 pieces of fruit, but I mean about 2 palm to hand size portions of fruit. So an apple, an orange, if you want like a little cup of different berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, put in a little cup. It should be about the size of your palm to your hand. 2 servings of that every day, okay? Again, if you are eating cheesecake and calling it fruit, you've gone too far. If you're eating pizza and calling it fruit, you've gone too far. Any type of fruit, mango, banana, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, watermelon, whatever, real fruit, 2 of those a day. Number 3. 3 stands for 3 bottles of water. Mitch, can you show me your water bottle that you have right there? Can you just throw it to me? Here you go. Mitch is my amazing cameraman, great friend, just an incredible guy all around. We're going to put Mitch's Instagram right here if you want to follow him, or if you want to hire him. He's fucking awesome, all right? This is a water bottle. Some water bottles are bigger than this, some water bottles are smaller than this. 3 water bottles every day. A lot of people are like, well, how much? Here you go, Mitch. A lot of people are like, how much exact water? Drink when you're thirsty. If you're really thirsty, you should drink water. If your pee starts to get darker, yellow, or brown, drink water. If you sweat a lot at any point in the day, drink water. If you start to get hungry, it's a good idea, drink a little bit of water. But generally speaking, I take 3 water bottles and I have them every single day. That's before, like, these are all the things I do before I have like the fun stuff. All right, and by fun stuff, I mean treats and more flexible dieting approach. But I have 1 big ass salad, 2 pieces of fruit, and 3 bottles of water every single day. And again, this isn't all you're allowed to eat. You can have everything else you want. Again, this is when you're just starting out. This isn't trying to go from like 8% body fat to 6% body fat. This is, you've got 50, 100, 150, 200 plus pounds to lose. You must include these 3 things every single day. Now, let's say you have a day and you don't have a big ass salad. Well, what did I say number 1? You're gonna make mistakes. It's gonna take longer than you want. It's gonna be harder than you want. Just don't quit, right? Ideally, you'll be very, very consistent, have 1 big ass salad, 2 pieces of fruit, 3 bottles of water every day. If you're losing your mind over like, but how many ounces of water? You're missing the forest for the trees. Drink 3 bottles of water. I don't give a shit how big the bottle is. As long as it's not this big or this big, you're fine. Somewhere in that range, okay? So start with walking and the 1, 2, 3 method. And if that is all you start with, walking every day and doing the 1, 2, 3 method, never mind the rest of this shit, you will be so far better off than you are right now and where most people in the world are. I can't even begin to tell you. So if you're already feeling like, okay, it's enough to start with, stop watching the video right here. Come back another time. Just these two things to begin with are absolutely fucking phenomenal. Moving right along, let's start with writing everything you eat down and counting your calories. Now, if counting your calories seems like too much at the beginning, ignore that. I'll explain it in a second. Ignore it, but start number one by writing everything you eat down. This is such an overlooked and underrated thing for you to do, especially when you're just starting out. Because here's the deal, and there's so much research to support this. Most people who are struggling to lose weight dramatically, severely, significantly underestimate how much they're eating. They have no idea. And it's not because you're lying. It's not because you're stupid. It's because you don't know. Period. You just don't know. There are times where I'll go throughout the day and I'll think like, oh, I've only had this many calories. But then I'll look back through my log and be like, I completely freaking forgot that I had that handful of nuts and I had this. And like those calories add up big time. So before we start by counting calories, let's just start by writing everything down. Everything you put in your mouth, everything you put in your mouth, aside from what you're doing with your spouse. Everything you put in your mouth, all the food, I don't care if it's a beverage, I don't care if it's a bite of a chicken nugget from your kid's plate, I don't care what it is. Write it down and in the quantity. You don't have to start with the calories just yet, but all I want you to do is write down. You have like some snacks in your drawer at work, you have a handful of those, write it down every time separately. If at 10 a.m. you had a handful of snacks and then at 12 p.m. you have another handful of snacks, write it down separately. Don't just say, oh, I already wrote it down. No, each individual time, write it down. Just becoming more aware of how much you're eating is unbelievably helpful and important, regardless of whether or not you're actually counting the calories. Because when you're forced to write it down, it is going to make you become more of a conscious eater. That's what I'm trying to accomplish here. A lot of people are unconscious eaters. And this is what happened many times when you end up gaining a lot of weight, 50, 100, 200 plus pounds, whatever it is. There's a lot of unconscious eating. And I want you to be more aware of it. Or another common thing is they will use eating as a coping mechanism. And even if you're aware that it might not be a great idea, it's still easy to fall back to that. But if you're forced to write it down, oftentimes you will find other ways to cope. Like, for example, hey, you know what? Rather than eating this food and then writing it down, what if I went on a 5-minute walk? Now that's a great idea, Jordan. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you like that idea, you should subscribe to the YouTube channel and give it a thumbs up to this video already, all right? So, write everything down. To take that one step further, start counting your calories. Now, what does that mean? If you're already writing everything down, because that was the first recommendation, if you're already writing it down, all you can do is you can go to Google and you can say, okay, I had 4 chicken nuggets. Hey, Google, how many calories in 4 chicken nuggets? It's gonna give you a ton of McDonald's chicken nuggets. I don't know, does Burger King have chicken nuggets? I don't know. Burger King chicken nuggets, Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets, homemade chicken nuggets. It's gonna give you all these different things. Pick one. Pick one. I don't care. There's gonna be pretty big variances. Pick one and decide. And that's the one you're gonna go with. Don't overthink it. There's gonna be a lot of different results. It doesn't matter. Just pick one, because it's better to have a general idea than to be going in blind. So you're writing everything down, and then once you start doing that, now start going to Google and adding it up. Cool, okay, it says like some chicken nuggets for 4, it says it's like 400. For others, it says it's like 250. You know what, cool, I'll just say it's 300. I'll put it right in the middle. Cool, now you've got 300 calories for those chicken nuggets. Awesome. Then it says you had, I don't know, a turkey sandwich. All right, cool. How many calories in a turkey sandwich? Awesome. Google it. Just Google at the very beginning. You don't have to be super precise. Some say 500 calories, some say 750. Cool, 600 calories. Cool, now you have like 300 plus 600 calories. You've had 900 calories already today. Adds up very quickly, like very, very quickly. Even just from that, it's like, oh shit, that's already 700 calories. That's insane. So, or 900 calories, whatever the fuck it is. Writing it down and then going through your log and starting to add up some of the calories is going to make you such a conscious eater and so consciously aware. And what I want you to notice is I'm not saying as you're eating, figuring out the calories. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, we have to remember the purpose of this video. This is for someone who has 50, 100, 150, 200 plus pounds to lose. You're just starting out. And a lot of people look at something like calorie counting as impeding on the fun and enjoyment of food and all of that. Like, I think it's nonsense. But what you could do is just enjoy your food, write it all down, and then at the end of the day, cool, go through it and add it all up. Or the next day, go through how much you had the day before and go to Google and tally everything up. And you will start to get a ridiculously good idea of how many calories you're actually eating. And I find this super interesting because, like I said, people who struggle to lose weight, who are significantly overweight, they dramatically underestimate how much they're eating, whereas people who struggle to gain weight dramatically overestimate how much they're eating. This happens all the time. This is very clear in the research. We all have at least that one friend who's like, oh, I eat so much, I just can't gain weight. No. They don't eat so much. They tell you they eat so much, and you think they eat so much because when you're with them, who knows, maybe they have the meatball sub or whatever it is. But what you don't see is that that's all they ate that day. That entire day, that's all they ate. And they're not thinking about it. They're busy. They have so many things going on in their mind. If you're struggling to lose weight and you have a lot to lose, you're probably underestimating how much you're eating, which is why you need to write it down and then tally up the calories. And this is going to make it so much more conscious for you so you can be aware of what you're starting with. And it's not really taking much away from your life. Cool. You write it down, and then later when you're alone, you can Google it while you're watching TV, whatever it is, start adding it up. This is a much more consciously aware individual in regard to what they're eating and how much you're eating. By the way, if you want to know, and this is if you want to know how many calories you should eat in order to lose weight, I have an entire video. It's a calorie calculator video. It teaches you exactly how many calories you should be eating in order to lose fat. I have a link to that in the description of this video if you want to watch it. You don't need to when you're first starting out because, again, I'm not telling you how many calories to eat, but if you want to, just to get a better idea, go to the calorie calculator. It's free. It's another video here on YouTube of mine. Go to the link in the description. You can watch that so you can figure out about how many calories you should eat in order to lose fat sustainably. Number 5, blank plus blank. Now, in terms of nutrition and fat loss, calories are number 1. If you are not in what's called a calorie deficit, you will not lose fat, regardless of whether you do intermittent fasting or you do keto or whatever it is. The only way to lose fat is to eat in a calorie deficit, which, by the way, is why I was able to lose 7 pounds in 30 days while eating a Big Mac every single day. I have an entire YouTube video about that here on my channel. I'll put the link in the description if you want to watch me eat a Big Mac every day for 30 days and lose 7 pounds in the process. But calories are number 1 in terms of weight loss, but calories are not all that matter. Other things matter too. For example, fiber and protein. I think fiber and protein, these two together, are the mega, ultra, super duper best combination to help you not only lose weight and body fat specifically, but also to be healthy. Protein and fiber are, I think, the 2 most important things you can be emphasizing in your diet every single day to help you be healthy and lose weight sustainably. Fiber is, I should make an entire separate video just on the benefits of fiber and why you should be including it. But fiber is gonna fill you up. It helps you stay regular with your bowel movements. Like, fiber is just like, it's the king. So please make sure you're getting fiber. If you want, I can make a separate video all about like my favorite sources of fiber, how much fiber is included, all this other stuff, benefits. In fact, if you want me to make that video, leave a comment. If you don't want that video, please don't say you do, right? Because it's gonna be a little bit more of a sciencey video and probably a little bit boring. It's all about fucking fiber, right? So if you really want to see that video, great. If not, like, I won't make it. But fiber and then protein is super important. It's the most filling macronutrient, so it's gonna fill you up a lot. It's the only macronutrient that can build and maintain muscle, which is super important in all aspects of life. Like, you want to build muscle so you can be stronger and live longer. And it also has the highest thermic effect, which is a very fancy way of saying that it increases your metabolism more than any other macronutrient. So the combination of fiber and protein is just astronomically important. Now, in terms of fiber, if you want to count, generally speaking, women should aim for about 25 grams of fiber daily on the low end, and men should aim for about 35 grams of fiber daily on the low end. You're welcome to have more, but ideally at least those minimums. As for protein, I tell you exactly how much protein to have in my calorie calculator video. So again, I'll put the link in the description of this video. The video explaining how many calories you should eat on a daily basis to lose weight will also walk you through the calculation to figure out how much protein you should have every day as well. Now we're gonna go into number 6, which looks like it's the last thing here, but it's actually not the last thing, because after number 6, we're going to erase the whole board and then go into how to know if things are actually working. How do you know if you're actually making progress or if you need to make a change? That's what's gonna come after this section, so watch the whole way through. As for number 6, in terms of things that you can practically get started with, it's sleep. Sleep is so crucially important. Now keep in mind, as of today, the recording of this video, my daughter is 5 months old today. I have a 5-month-old infant daughter. She's my whole life, everything. Sleep is not the greatest. I get it. And you don't always have control over your sleep. Maybe it's because you're a night shift worker. Maybe it's because you have a child or multiple children. Maybe you have a sleep disorder. I don't know. There are many, many reasons why sleep might not be as readily accessible for you. And I understand that. For most people who are watching this video, for the vast majority of you, you've got control over your sleep, you're just not taking control over it. You're scrolling, you're doing like the doomsday scroll. You're just always fucking scrolling. You're staying up late or whatever it is. Now, keep in mind, staying up late doesn't inherently make it harder to lose fat in terms of if your calories are in check and you're getting your walking and all of that, you'll still lose fat. But staying up late makes it very hard for a number of reasons, just from a behavioral perspective. How many people do you know who are eating celery sticks at 2 a.m.? I don't know anyone. Most people, when they're up at 2 a.m., they're going to the pantry and they're getting, you know, the tasty fucking snacks. And it's okay to have those in moderation, but most people at 2 a.m., they just take the whole bag, sit down and jump. I don't know what that noise was, but that's what they do, okay? Now, Mitch is laughing in the background. So, get more sleep. Again, easier said than done. If you're the person who has a kid or multiple kids or you have a sleep disorder, talk to your doctor, obviously. But if you're a regular person and you're overall healthy and you don't have anything keeping you from getting more sleep other than just your current schedule that you could manipulate and change a little bit, put your fucking phone down, try and get some blackout curtains, reduce the temperature in your room, make it a little bit more cool. If you want, you can even put one of those like sleep masks on. Those are great. Put some white noise on, some rain sounds. My wife and I love listening to those. And get good sleep, for the love of God. From a behavioral perspective, also there are physiological improvements as well, but most importantly is the behavioral. If you're staying up till 2 in the morning, you're gonna sleep in late. It's gonna be harder for you to have time to get your workouts in. It's gonna be harder for you to make sure your nutrition is in check. It just, more than anything, behaviorally, not getting enough sleep makes this way more difficult. And I get it. It can be really, really challenging to get the sleep in. There's a reason why it's the last one on this specific list. It's because it's not the most important, but it is still really important. So out of everything, I would literally go in this order of importance from number 1 to number 6. Just because sleep is number 6 doesn't mean it's not important, but I think starting with walking and then also the 1, 2, 3 method, like I said earlier, these are the 2 most important that you can begin with. Then from there, writing everything down and tracking your calories. Then from there, really prioritizing fiber and protein, and then also, okay, cool, let's get my sleep in check. Once you've got all this under control and you've really started to lose weight, because once you start doing this, you're gonna start losing weight. You got 100 pounds to lose, this is gonna start causing you to lose weight fast. You do this for 3 months, you're gonna be a completely different person. Mentally, physically, emotionally, and then you can start to get in a little bit more advanced strategies of weight loss and health and fitness. So with that being said, I'm going to erase all of this, write the whole new thing, how to know if it's actually working or make changes, and we're gonna get into that. So in 3, 2, 1. Holy shit, that was pretty good, right? That was pretty good. That was good editing, Mitch. All right, so first and foremost, how do you know it's working or not working? Keep in mind the first thing from the last list, which was it's gonna take longer than you want, right? It's gonna take longer than you want. You're not gonna lose fat every day. The scale isn't gonna go down every day or every 2 days or every 3 days. This is very, very important. I'm gonna talk about how to keep track of this, but there are a number of things I want you to track. Most people only track their weight, and there's nothing wrong with tracking your weight. I actually think it's a really good idea, but it's not the only thing you should track. You should track a number of things. Weight, you should track your measurements, right? Like maybe your waist or your hip. You could track your quad, you could track your arm, you could track in this area, chestal region, all of that, right? So track your weight, track your measurements, track your pictures. Take pictures of yourself, front, side, back, all of that. Take pictures, really important. Different people lose fat from different places first. So sometimes people will only look here and they'll think like, oh my God, I didn't lose anything. But then when they turn to the side, they're like, holy shit, it looks completely different. That was one of the most fun things I ever did when I was doing a lot of one-on-one coaching. People would send me their front, side, and back pictures and be like, I don't see any difference. But I'd look at the back pictures and it would be completely different. So track weight, measurements, pictures, clothing. This one's huge, especially things like your pants and belts. Belts are awesome to track measurements with, or to track with, right? So if your pants are getting looser or tighter or whatever it is, it's a really good way to track progress, whether it's going one way or another. I basically have one pair of pants where I know if it starts to get tight, I'm like, all right, I've got to rein in my diet. If it starts to get too loose, I'm like, cool, I can eat more. These are things that you can start to learn as you get better and better over time. So weight, measurements, pictures, clothes, and last one, equally important as all of them, is how you feel, which, you know, it's going to change day to day. Some days are going to be good, some days are going to be bad. You can track how you feel, but don't let how you feel cause you to change the plan. This is a really important part. Just because you're feeling weak one day or you just feel down on yourself, it doesn't mean you need to change everything. I see this happening all the time. People like, oh my God, like I just feel so hungry, I need to change my diet. It's like, no, it's one day. Like some days you're just hungrier than others. It's like, oh my God, I'm so full, I need to it's okay. Stick with the same thing for at least 30 days before you make any changes. At least 30 days. And again, at least 30 days of being consistent. Now, let's talk about weight really quickly before we get to this. This is a star. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, that's a penis, by the way. That is a penis, and it's because I want you to watch the whole way through because I'm going to explain why I put a penis here, okay? So, before we get to this one, let's talk about tracking your weight. Most people have no fucking clue how to properly track their weight. Properly tracking your weight does not mean getting on the scale every day, looking at it, and expecting it to go down every day, because that's not how it works. In the same way, like if you're investing in the stock market, it's not just going to keep going up every day. I wish it did, but it doesn't, and for many, many reasons. Anyway, when you step on the scale, let's say it is June 1st, okay? And it's January right now as I'm filming this, but let's just say it's fucking June, right? This video is going to be on YouTube forever. Whatever. June 1st, you step on the scale. Cool. Says, 300 pounds. Step on the scale, June 2nd. It might go down, but you don't compare your weight on June 1st to your weight on June 2nd. Get on the scale June 3rd. You don't compare your weight on June 3rd to June 1st or June 2nd. Get on the scale June 4th. You don't compare June 1, 2, or 3 to June 4. You compare not day to day, not week to week, you compare month to month, okay? So on June 1, you step on the scale, you track every single day, you still weigh in every single day of June. July 1st comes around, now you compare your weight on June 1 to your weight on July 1. You compare your weight on June 2nd to your weight on July 2nd. You compare your weight on June 3rd to your weight on July 3rd. July 3rd to August 3rd. August 3rd, September 3rd. You compare month to month. This takes so much into consideration. If you're a woman, you're going through your menstrual cycle, weight fluctuates like crazy, especially around your menstrual cycle. This way, you take that variability out of the equation, and now you just go month to month. So even if, let's say you have a big weight spike during your menstrual cycle, during your period, cool. Weight spikes up that much in June, but now you look in July, the following month, it still spikes, but it's lower than it was the month before. Then in August, it still spikes up, but it's lower than the month before. This takes so much into consideration. It also forces you to be consistent. When I used to take on one-on-one clients, which I don't do that anymore because I'm in the inner circle and I have members in there, but when I used to have one-on-one clients, I used to say, you are not allowed to complain for the first 30 days. We're not going to make any changes for at least 30 days because the first 30 days is just data collection. That's it. Every day you weigh in, there's no comparison to make because it has to be month to month. So for the first 30, 31 days, no complaining, no asking to change the plan. You stay consistent. We collect your data. And in month 2, we start analyzing the data and comparing it from the previous month. If by month 3 we haven't seen changes, all right, we know we need to make a change. Either you're not being consistent enough, you're not following it, or we need to reduce your calories, something along those lines, okay? So with that in mind, let's go to the next one. You should also track, this is super important, you should also, that's why I put the star, right? you should also track your consistency. And you need to be ruthlessly consistent with tracking your consistency. This is the most important thing. And this is what nobody does. This is why in the Inner Circle, in the app, we have a consistency calendar that tracks your consistency for you. So at the end of the month, you can see on a percentage scale how consistent you've been. So let me give you an example. Let's say it's a 31-day month. You have to be consistent 24 to 26 days in order to be 80% consistent that month, right? 80-20 rule, right? This is the perfect example. And I'm gonna give you an example of what consistency means, but 80% consistent, 24 to 26 days. Most people are not consistent anywhere near that, like at all, okay? So it's really, really important you to track your consistency over time so you can know, okay, is the program not working or am I not actually following the program consistently enough? Which, speaking from experience being a coach for 15 years, most people are just not following the plan consistently enough. So track your consistency over time and see what you're doing. Now keep in mind, 80% consistent is what I prefer to shoot for myself and for my clients. 80% consistent, it gives you enough consistency to make progress, but not so much consistency that you're perfect and you can't enjoy life. Okay, so 24 to 26 days of being consistent, that gives you a fair amount of days to enjoy, have fun, go over your calories, all of that, but you still need to be pretty consistent. Keep in mind, 80%, it's a B- in school, right? So if you have someone who's a B-, like, it's good, you're passing, but it's not like you're not bragging about a B-, right? You also can't expect to get into the same colleges as someone who's getting an A+ in every single test, right? So if you're doing a B- effort, which is what I prefer in this realm, a B- effort, because this way you can enjoy life and not be so strict and so rigid with your nutrition, and you lose X amount of weight, you shouldn't compare yourself to someone who's giving A+ effort, because of course they're gonna lose weight faster, right? Now also, and realistically, you shouldn't compare your weight loss to anybody's weight loss except your own. You're the only one that matters in this equation. You shouldn't be comparing to anybody else. But especially keep in mind that there's zero reason for you to look at someone else who's being 100% consistent every single day and be like, well, why are they losing weight faster? Because they're being fucking 100% consistent. They have 100% on all the exams. You got a B-. And again, I prefer the B-. Why? Because the B- you can sustain your whole life. Very difficult to find someone who can be 100% consistent forever. It's more or less impossible. And if they can do it, they usually hate their life. It's just not fun. So I like that 80-20 rule, the 24 to 26 days a month of being consistent. But just keep in mind, it's a little bit slower, but also more sustainable. And that's what this is about, okay? Now, what does consistent actually mean? This is an important question. For some people, consistent means hitting their calories. For some people, consistent means getting their workouts in. For some people, consistent means getting their sleep. Let's talk about what I consider consistent specifically around weight loss, okay? Specifically for weight loss and fat loss, even more specifically. If you want to lose weight, the most important thing you need to be consistent with, calories. Did you hit your calories that day? Now, let's say we're talking from earlier in the video and you're not going to count your calories yet. Are you walking? Set a number of steps to get every day, right? Is it, I don't know, is it 2,000? Is it 4,000? Is it 5,000? Did you watch the 10,000 step video that I put in the description of this video so you can then go watch and figure out how many steps you should be taking a day? Did you hit your steps? Did you do the 1, 2, 3 method? Did you do those? Those are the two most important things in this video. Did you get your steps? Did you do the 1, 2, 3 method? You could start with that. And if you didn't get your steps, and or you didn't get your 1, 2, 3 method, that's an inconsistent day. You can't count that as consistent. If you did get both, cool, you were consistent that day. At the end of the month, look at your consistency and you can see, were you 80% consistent, were you 90% consistent, were you 40% consistent, and adjust from there. If you're less than 80% consistent and you're not getting the results you want, your job is not to change the program, your job is to change your consistency, right? Like, or if the program is too intense and difficult for you, then in order to stay consistent, then you can change the program to make it more sustainable long-term. So if you said, hey, I have to get 10,000 steps, but by 4,000 steps, your feet are aching and it's really, really difficult and you can't do more, then maybe you should reduce your number of steps so you can start being consistent and build up over time, right? But consistency is the number one. If you're not tracking your consistency, you're going in blind, and most people, like 98% of people who are struggling to make progress, are just simply not being consistent and they're not tracking that. So yes, track your weight, track your measurements, track your pictures, track your clothes, and track how you feel. But above all of that, Track how consistent you're being with your program before you decide to change anything. All right, now for the next one, don't be, what am I gonna say? What do you think? Don't be so damn fucking hard on yourself. All right? This goes back to the number one from the first whiteboard that we had. It's gonna take longer than you want. It's gonna be harder than you want, and you're gonna make mistakes. Don't be so hard on yourself, right? Like, this is so important. What I've noticed from working with literally thousands of people over the years is we all tend to be our own harshest critic, and we all often treat other people way better than we treat ourselves. And you would often speak to your worst enemy better than you speak to yourself inside your head. God forbid you have a fucking bagel, right? And then you're like, oh my God, I'm a fat piece of shit and I'm worthless and no one's gonna want. Where did that come from? If your best friend was like, I had a bagel and I'm fat, and like, what would you say? You're like, yeah, you are fat and no one likes you. You shouldn't have the bagel, you piece of shit. No, you would never say that to them, but you're saying it to yourself. Stop being so hard on yourself. The harder you are on yourself, the worse it's gonna get. And what's really interesting is shame-based motivation, shame-based encouragement, where you're like trying to shame people. I'm not gonna say it doesn't work, but if we look at the research, it works for a tiny percentage of the population, about like 3% of the population. Super small. And I know we all like to think we're special butterflies, but odds are you're in the 97% of people that do not respond well to shame-based motivation or encouragement. And that's not just from other people. It's not just a coach being shameful. It's also you. I'm looking right at you. It's also you. In here, if you're shaming yourself all the time, it's not going to help unless you are a super rare individual who happens to respond to the shame-based encouragement motivation. And odds are if that was you, you probably wouldn't be in the situation you are right now, right? You probably need more positive reinforcement and encouragement. So stop being so damn hard on yourself. But also, don't let yourself off the hook so easily. And this is the hard balance to strike. You can not be so hard on yourself and not be an asshole to yourself, but also hold yourself to higher expectations. Also, not allow yourself to quit when the going gets tough. Also, make hard decisions. Apple, donut, which one's gonna be better for you in the moment? You can make hard decisions. You can do hard things. You can do challenging things. You can get your steps in when you don't want to. You can eat foods that are gonna be better for you in the long run. You can. Don't be hard on yourself when you don't. But by and large, 80% of the time, don't let yourself off the hook. Because when you start letting yourself off the hook so easily, that's when things get really tough. And that's when it's like, how are you ever gonna achieve your goals if it's just always like, oh, do whatever you want and you're amazing as you are. Listen, I think you are fucking amazing. But just because I think you're amazing doesn't mean you can't be better. This is a huge issue that I have with like the whole like positivity movement. It's almost like toxic positivity where everything has to be amazing, you're great. It's like when I look at couples who have amazing relationships, one of the things that a spouse will say about their spouse is they'll be like, they make me a better person. They make me better. They make me want to improve. I think we all inherently want to be better, but there's been this toxic movement of people being like, well, you're perfect as you are. No, you're not. No, I'm not. None of us are perfect. It's almost like if someone said to you, if someone that you were dating or whatever, like said to you, you're just perfect, you're perfect, you're perfect, you'd be like, ooh, no, I'm not. Like, I'm a human. I make mistakes too. You're not perfect, and that's okay. That's fine. Don't let yourself off the hook so easily. Life can continue to get better as long as you continue to hold yourself to higher standards. And you will make mistakes, and it will be difficult, and it will take a long time. Don't be too hard on yourself, but also don't let yourself off the hook so often. Now, that's a penis. And really the only reason I drew that is because I wanted you to get to the end. And I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for watching the whole video. Thank you for getting here. Thank you for watching the whole way through. I would love to have you in the inner circle if you're looking for a place to get your workouts written for you, to have your nutrition mapped out for you, to have an incredibly supportive online fitness community, to have exercise video demonstrations showing you exactly how to do the exercise safely, how to have workouts at home, with equipment, without equipment, with dumbbells, with kettlebells, with barbells. Everything you need is in the inner circle, and I would love to have you join us. If not, totally fine. To everyone who's already in the inner circle, thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you. To everyone who will be in the inner circle, thank you. I'm excited to have you in there. And if you're not ready yet, no worries. Start with everything I gave you here in this video, and you'll be better off than 99.99999% of people in the world. All right. With that being said, I think we have some more things to do, right? We have some more free inner circles to give away. And then also we have, oh no, we don't. Mitch is waving me off. No, we don't have free inner circles to give away.
We already gave them away.
We already gave them away. And oh, what about the Q&A? Are we doing Q&A today?
We are doing Q&A.
We are doing a Q&A. So the video is not over yet. So we already gave away 10 free inner circle memberships. So now we're going to go do the Q&A. Let's get into it. All right, so we're getting into the Q&A. Just so you know, all of these questions come from my Instagram Q&A. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, do that right here. Ask me questions when I put up my Q&A. It's usually like 2 or 3 times a week. I'll go through and I pick 2 questions every single time we do a YouTube video, which is once a week. Now, in this Q&A, I've got 1 fitness question, which is about stretching, and I've got 1 history question about World War II that I'm going to discuss. If you've been following me for a while, you know I'm a huge World War II nut. I just love learning about it, love history in general. So I'm going to start with the stretching question and then go to World War II to end off the video. So the first question from J032394 is when to stretch? Before a workout, after a workout, anytime. There's so much conflicting information out there. It's a great question, and we could really go into the weeds on this, but I'm going to try and make it as simple and as brief as possible. There are very basically 2 different types of stretching, and there's more than that, but basically there is dynamic type of stretching where you're moving. So for example, I'm going to fuck with the mic, but arm swings like this, right? That's a dynamic stretch, right? You're getting a nice pec stretch, but you're not holding it. This would be static stretching. Like if I went into the doorway and I just stretched my pec like this and held it for a minute, that would be a static stretch. So if I did 10 of these, dynamic stretching, holding this for a minute, static stretching. Now, there's a lot of people who say you should not stretch before you weight lift. I think those people are fucking stupid, and I'll tell you why. What they're saying is, and the research they're going off of, because the research does exist, there is research that says that you should not stretch before you lift because stretching reduces force output, which is true, especially with static stretching, not dynamic stretching. You don't see that same reduction in force output with dynamic stretching, but you do see it with long duration static holds in which you would reduce the force output. And a simple way to think about this is just imagine a rubber band, right? Take a rubber band, you pull, quickly release, boom, goes really fast. But if you hold it and you hold it and you hold it and you hold it, it starts to deform a little bit, you lose the snap, right? So that's sort of a similar way, or a way to sort of visualize it in your head why that works. And while it's true that you get a decrease in force production, it's very minimal. And most people are not trying to be elite lifters who need every single ounce of possible force production. If you're a high-level lifter, you're about to compete in a powerlifting competition, weightlifting competition, whatever it is, yeah, don't static stretch before your competition or maybe even before your lifts, because that small percentage decrease in force output could impact your performance. But if you're just a regular average Joe or Jane, you like to lift, you like to work out, maybe you don't even like to do it very much, but you know you need to, it's a good idea to stretch, right? And so whether you do it before, whether you do it after, anytime, it really doesn't matter. Static stretching and dynamic stretching are great. They're both fantastic and they both have a time and a place. Most of the people that I work with, and I work with just general population people mostly, they need to stretch. They need to. And it's going to help them access a larger range of motion, which will help them recruit more muscle fiber, which will help them get stronger and actually build more bigger and or defined muscles. So if you're an elite lifter, sure, don't static stretch right before you lift. That's fine. If you're not an elite lifter, do it before, do it in the middle, do it after. The way that I structure it in the inner circle is I will pair a strength exercise with a mobility exercise. So I'll do like a lunge, for example, a reverse lunge, heavy reverse lunge, followed by a glute stretch or a hip flexor stretch or an adductor stretch, something like that. Usually more dynamic in nature, sometimes static, but always I pair strength with mobility, so you get the best of both worlds. Long story short, it's not bad. Do it Do it often, and it's important to make sure that you're stretching. A lot of people say it's stupid, it's useless, you don't need it. I haven't found a single person who gets to be like 60, 70, 80, 90 plus who regrets stretching. I'll tell you that. I know a lot of older people who regret not stretching though. Okay, second question. This is the World War II question, and this is where like I just nerd out on stuff that isn't fitness. Just for your own knowledge about me, whenever people ask if you're not in the fitness industry, what would you do? If I wasn't in the fitness industry, I would love to be a history professor, specifically focusing around the Holocaust. It's just what I've always been really interested in. I am Jewish. I love learning about it, and I think it's really important, and I enjoy learning about it and talking about it. I think the best piece of writing I ever did was in college. I did a huge research paper all about the SS troops. Like the SS troops were like the worst of the worst killers in Hitler's armed forces, who carried out some of the worst executions of innocent prisoners, Jewish prisoners, gypsy prisoners, gays, people who had mental disorders. Just the mass killings. The SS troops were among the worst, and I did a ton of research on them, and that's actually sort of going to talk about the question that someone brought up. But I think that's the best piece of writing I've ever done, as that research paper, all about that. So the question comes from Mad Boot Madeline. Mad Boot Madeline, she said, I don't need any help, but I'm looking to read more about history, World War II, etc. Do you have any book recommendations? So I'm going to give you one book that I think everybody should read. It is obviously related to World War II, and specifically the Holocaust, which is just crazily enough, only one small part of World War II. But this pertains to everything in life. And if you read this book, it's going to completely change your perspective on not only everybody else that you're communicating with and interacting with, but also about yourself. It's a little bit chilling if you think about it. So the book is called Ordinary Men. We're going to put a picture of it up on the screen right now. I'm trying to find the name of the author, Christopher Browning. Christopher Browning. Unbelievable book. And the title, Ordinary Men, it's interesting because a lot of people hear about, for example, the SS troops, the soldiers, who carried out these mass executions, these horrible killings of innocent people, just like you and me. I'm Jewish. Like, I would be killed just because I'm Jewish. And actually, it's crazy because yesterday was Holocaust Remembrance Day, so it's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this, answer this question right now. 6 million Jews were killed just for the crime of being Jewish. That was it. And actually just before we started filming, there was a synagogue shooting in Jerusalem where there were at least 7 innocent people killed. Anyway, ordinary men. When we think about these people who are doing these awful shootings, awful killings, executions of women and children and innocent men, like, we think barbarians. We think evil. We just think, how could someone do that? And in relation to the paper that I wrote when I was in college, I think one of the most important quotes that I ever learned was, evil looks just like you and me. Evil doesn't have a look. You don't know what's going on. Like, you don't know what's going on in their heads. You don't know what's going on in their life. We're all human. We all look human. Like, who looks evil? Like, it doesn't have a look. And what Ordinary Men does, it goes through a specific battalion of soldiers who were among the worst, the deadliest soldiers, deadliest executioners. And you realize they're just ordinary guys. They have families, they have wives, they have kids. They're just ordinary men who became savage, brutal killers. And it wasn't even, for the most part, because they had ill feelings towards Jews. Some of them did. Some of them had been brought up to hate Jews and were like, okay, we actually enjoy this killing. But the majority of them were doing it because group conformity. They were in the group. They were scared for their own lives if they didn't do it. And there were others who were against it, but didn't do anything to stop it because, again, they were scared for their own lives, and because, they... Imagine, it's funny, I think so many people, when you're not in this situation, it's easy to think like, I would stand up for what is right. I would do the right thing. But when there's a barrel of a gun pointing down, right, looking you in the face and saying, either you kill them or we kill you, I think the vast majority of us would kill someone else to save our own lives so we can go back to our own family, which is chilling. It's scary, scary shit, and it's a real hard reality check. But most people are not going to be the heroes, which for me, I love reading the stories about the heroes during the Holocaust and World War II. The people who were not Jewish, who would take in refugees to their homes, and they would try and give them falsified papers and try and help them escape to freedom, because those people, when they were caught, they were killed. And not just the person who did it, the entire family and their family and their family. I mean, those were real, real heroes. If you've never seen a movie called Schindler's List, holy shit, one of the greatest movies of all time. So two things. Ordinary Men and Schindler's List is a movie. Watch Schindler's List. Oskar Schindler, not Jewish. He actually he's buried in Jerusalem, which is amazing. He saved what has amounted to tens of thousands of people now are alive because of him. It's just incredible. So that book, I think, Ordinary Men, is something everybody should read to really get a better understanding of a very famous quote, I believe by a guy named Stoljanitsky. I'm sure I'm butchering his name, but the line dividing good and evil runs through the heart of every human being. We all have good, we've all got bad. And a lot of people ask me, like, how can I be so empathetic towards people? Like I'm not perfect. I do bad shit. We all do. Every single one of us. Everyone has lied, and everyone lies, and everyone will lie. Everyone has done and will do things they're not proud of. And obviously there's levels to this, right? Like committing mass executions is on a different level. But just keep in mind, when you're judging someone else for what they've done, you don't really know what situation they're in. You don't fully understand. It's why it's really difficult for me reading books like this. It puts so much in perspective in what I try and spend my time on. It's just not worth it to me. It's, for example, one of the reasons why I very rarely, if ever, I haven't done it in a long time, I usually don't call individuals out in the fitness industry. I won't name an individual and say, like, well, this person is a charlatan and this person's wrong, and then like do a parody of their video. If I disagree with something, I will discuss the actual topic. I won't tear down the person. Everyone is going through their own thing, and everyone is probably trying to do what's best. There are some people who are truly deep down just bad people, but most of us are truly trying to do what is best and what is right. So keep that in mind. I mean, I know I'm sort of all over the place with this answer, but read Ordinary Men, watch Schindler's List. Graphic, very graphic, especially that movie. But it's a hell of a fucking education, and that's it. So that's this whole video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already. You can follow me on Instagram right here. And we have a new video every week or so on this YouTube channel. And I'm just gonna stop right now. So I will talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day.